My guest today is Sam Beam, Iron and Wine. Ghost on Ghost is the new record, playing tonight to a sold-out crowd at Headliners. Real thrilled to have you here, Sam. Thanks so much for coming by.
Thank you, Laura. It's nice to be here.
So the new album, Ghost on Ghost, feels just a tad different to your previous records, I will say.
Yeah, it's a bit more involved. A little more. There's more. Well, there's strings, so it's classy.
And it's funny because I always thought there were strings on your records. I don't know why. Maybe it was just the melodies or something.
It's magic.
Yeah.
Put magic in it.
Right.
Make all kinds of sounds that you don't actually hear.
So you have string arrangements, and then there's also horns on that, which I know you've had horns in the past, but maybe it's the combination of that gives it kind of an R&B feel at times.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was definitely an R&B element to the previous record, and sort of picked up that ball and threw it a little bit further. And yeah, I was really sort of keen into a lot of Motown influences and stuff, and some of that 70s R&B where they had a lot of really fun string arrangements and stuff, and interacting with the vocal arrangements and the horn arrangement stuff. And so it was just a really fun time.
Is that something you'd been listening a lot to before?
Since I was born, yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, honestly, it's been in the background of what I do from the beginning, probably unconsciously, but song structure, things like this, in the last few years, I've been realizing, my cradle music memories, or, my parents were in college in the 60s in the Southeast, and so Motown was a huge part of, my life as a kid.
Were your parents musicians too?
No, they like music, but my grandmother played piano by ear, but that's about it.
When did you realize you had an aptitude for music?
When someone told me, said that they wanted to put out a record. I liked music as a kid, and so me and my friends all got guitars when we were 15 or so, and started fooling around in the spare time.
Did you have a band?
Not an official band, but I had dreamed of many band titles and configurations, of course, as a kid.
I always like to find out what the musicians will say. Yeah, I had a band when I was 14. I love to know what the name is. Did you all have a name?
We didn't have a name.
No.
We never, we would just get together and try to figure out how to play punk rock songs, and it wasn't really that organized of a thing.
Well, visual art was your thing, I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, that you got your MFA, you studied visual art, painting primarily?
Yeah, I started as a painter and got sucked into a film program, like a photography and film program. But it kind of satisfied, it's such a multidisciplinary form that it kind of satisfied a lot of creative bugs of mine. And so then I studied painting for a while, and then studied film for a while, and then was doing music in the spare time, and one took over the other.
Did you ever make a movie yourself? Did you make some films?
I made several short films in school, and then went on after school, to pay the bills, was working on commercials and other people's movies. And then but the dream was always to make a movie, yeah.
What about videos for your own songs? Have you done that?
I've done a few, yeah. We did one for Naked As We Came, and a couple of the other early ones, Southern Anthem. Made a video for Glenn Hansard from the Swell season.
Absolutely.
Made one for the Swell season. So try to keep busy. It's hard to do everything.
Right. Well, right now I know you're on tour for the new album Ghost on Ghost. We're talking with Sam Beam of Iron and Wine, playing tonight at Headliners. The show is sold out, so it's a real treat to have you here, so people can still hear you live on the radio.
It's nice to come by.
Tell us about the first song you're going to do here for us.
Sure, this is a song off of Ghost on Ghost. It's called Grace for Saints and Ramblers, whereas the track on the record is a pretty fleshed out, to say the least, affair, with, like we were talking about earlier, the strings and the horns and all kinds of stuff. But this is just me and the guitar. This is, how they all start, with just a simple melody line and a guitar or piano or something. So here we go. It all came down to you and I. All came down to you and I. There were banged up heads stealing first base underneath the table, so we never said grace.
falling out of bed for the workday week. There was kissing in the cracks of the flash flood street. There were budding blossoms, blaring Johnny Rotten, chewed up and swallowed by the prophet they were trying to follow. Pick too green and we paid no tax on our quick romantic cul-de-sacs. And it all came down to you and I. All came down to you and I. There were crashed out cars in our barcode clothes, rubbing on each other, rubbing ghost on ghost. There were jumped up punks, the Jesus freaks, weaving in and out of trouble, wrapping round and round a leash. There were sleepless dreamers, doomsday preachers, the message and the messenger, the gun beneath the register, the sweet gum tree by the tough drunk tank. We could never give enough to the bad blood bank. There were hopeless sinners, sweepstake winners, that danced with the farmer's daughter, capered with the corporate lawyers. All came down to you and I. And it all came down to you and I. All came down to you and I. All came down to you and I. There was laughing in the light, sugar in the shade, backstab handshakes made on faith. We were never out of time and we never entertained anybody say the habit of the wind was gonna change. Misled misfits, teeth and biscuits, fountains full of penny wishes, parties full of pretty fishes, side by side with birds and bees. And we never said grace, never ever took a knee, with the Saints and Ramblers, movie star handlers, high above the aviary, underneath the cemetery. And we never wondered why, 'cause the sun was in our eyes. There was seed for the field, there was grease for the wheel. We were drinking with the luminaries, eating with the missionaries. All came down to you and I. And it all came down to you and I. All came down to you and I. All came down to you and I.
Grace for Saints and Ramblers. That's Iron and Wine live on WFPK Radio Louisville. New album's called Ghost on Ghost. Playing tonight at Headliners, and the show is sold out. So it's a real treat to have Sam Beam here with us of Iron and Wine.
Thanks, Laura.
You had a lot of musicians on the new record for Ghost on Ghost.
Yeah.
And produced by Brian Deck.
Brian Deck again. Yeah, I've been working with Brian since the beginning. It's been nice because, well, it's been over a decade now. But in the course of that time, made a lot of changes in approach and things. And it's nice to have someone who, one, is a great idea board, really creative arranger, but also, you know, who knows where we've been and knows when we're covering new ground and when we're rehashing old ideas, which is nice to have.
And he's open to going in those directions with you, it sounds like.
Yeah, he has a similar subversive idea about pop music, like me.
Really beautiful melodies in your songs. That's what really stands out for me.
Thanks.
And I was wondering, like, what songwriter or writes melodies that have really attracted you?
I mean, there's so many. I mean, obviously, the folk traditions, you know, from England and the States as well, you know, I put melody first, and so that's always nice. But at the same time, country music, you know, hymns were a big early musical memory that stuck and still do.
From days in church yourself?
Yeah. I grew up in South Carolina, so, you know, the Bible Belt was drawn pretty tight around the waist. Motown records like we were talking about before, but all that comes from the gospel tradition and stuff too. So all of it mixed in together.
Yeah. I've heard the name Burt Bacharach come up a few times. And
Yeah, well, he was so creative. Yeah, it was great.
yeah. So there's also a lot of imagery in your songs that, for me, just reminds me of, biblical stuff like lion and lamb and grace and sinners and
yeah. I mean, the
and,
language is out there in the
yeah.
culture, and so they're at the heart. They're American songs. The context is America, and so it's a huge part of the culture, and the language is batted around still, and so it's fair game.
What was your faith growing up?
Christian, we bounced around from Presbyterian, Baptist, whatever. Yeah.
Now you have, did I read this right, 5 daughters?
That's right, yep.
Wow.
Yeah, keeps you busy.
I bet. What's the age range?
The oldest one just turned 16, and the youngest one just turned 4. So.
Oh, cute. Wow.
Yeah.
Are they musicians too, any of them? Or
I haven't really pushed them in direction, but they all like to sing and stuff like that.
Yeah. So the next song you were going to do for us, Sam, was "Naked as We Came," which appeared on the album "Our Endless Numbered Days."
Yeah,
It's a beautiful tune.
It's an older one.
All right.
She says, wake up, it's no use pretending. I'll keep stealing, breathing her. Birds are leaving over autumn's ending. One of us will die inside these arms. Eyes wide open, naked as we came. One will spread our ashes round the yard. She says, if I leave before you, darling, don't you waste me in the ground. I lay smiling like our sleeping children. One of us will die inside these arms. Eyes wide open, naked as we came. One will spread our ashes round the yard.
What a beautiful song. It's called "Naked as We Came," and that's from Sam Beam. Iron and Wine, here live on WFPK Radio Louisville. It's on an earlier album, Our Endless Numbered Days. The new one's called Ghost on Ghost, and they're playing at Headliners tonight. However, that show is sold out, so you get to hear it here live on WFPK right now. Sam, I get the feeling that you write a lot of songs, and I'm curious as to how you know when it's time to do an album. Like, how do you cull from, all the songs and pull them together and say, okay, this is the collection I'm going to put out?
Excuse me one second. Well, you're right. I do keep writing. Although lately it's been kind of slow. I used to churn them out a lot more. I think it has to do with the busy family life.
Yeah, 5 kids.
But yeah, it's gotten much slower. But at the same time, I like to keep working, and so sometimes you set a deadline and just make sure that you finish stuff. Sometimes the accountant says it's time to do something. But yeah, I think it's just more I like to keep. I would like to put out more records, but I think now there's so many bands now. The market can only bear so much, and there's so much promotion that has to go into the things that there's only so many. It's almost a problem if you're a bit more prolific, and so it's nice to be able to stretch things out and use that as an excuse and hone your material. So we usually put something out every 2 years. Do a couple things in between, but that seems to be the schedule.
And when you put a collection of songs together, is there a theme that emerges usually that ties them, or?
Usually, yeah. You were mentioning before. I just kind of keep writing. I don't really write with the record in mind. But yeah, it's kind of nice to look through when it comes time to put a record out. You kind of look through your stuff and try to pick out, not generally thematic through lines, but images that keep popping up will sort of lead you in lead me in a direction, as an excuse to put songs together. In the Shepherd's Dog, I did a record called The Shepherd's Dog, and a lot of those songs were included because they had a dog in the song somewhere. Things like that.
What about Ghost on Ghost? What's the latest one?
Ghost on Ghost, there wasn't a specific image, but there were. I had a lot of sort of narrative songs that had a couple in them, in some state of disarray. They were usually either, in a narrative song, you want to have a certain amount of conflict. Some songs are more conflicted than others, but these had a bit of conflict. They were the couple was either working something out with one another. They were looking over the horizon for something better. And so this couple kind of tied them all together. It seemed like when I put them together, they were kind of this continuing adventure of these people, which they weren't, but it felt like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of fun.
Do you always write from a fictional point of view, or do you write from...
they're all songs are different. Sometimes you can't help but pull from your own experience in some sense for any song, but yeah, some of them are more take more of my own life, and some of them are mostly pure fantasy. Yeah.
And there's a couple on the cover art.
That's
too.
the couple. Yeah.
That's the couple.
Yeah. I try to make an icon of them in a certain way.
Yeah, it's a cool picture. I recommend people checking it out online. The cover of Ghost on Ghost.
Yeah, it was fun. I discovered this photographer from Chicago. Her name's Barbara Crane. She had a series of Polaroids from a festival in Chicago on the lakeside where she had gotten really close to these people. I don't know if it was with permission or not, but gotten so close that it became sort of abstract. Really fun. And so I met her. It turns out she knew some of my photography teachers from college.
Wow.
So it was
that's
small
cool.
world.
I bet she was honored to have that photo on your album, I would think. But
Well, you have to ask her.
well, we got time for one more song. And what's this final one you're going to do for us?
Let's see. Let's do another old one.
Well, I like that Flightless Bird
Okay.
song, but it's up to you, of course.
Yeah,
I'll
we can
just-
do that.
I was a quick, wet boy diving too deep for coins. All of your street light eyes wide on my plastic toys. And when the cops closed the fair, I cut my long baby hair and stole me a dog-eared map and called for you everywhere. Have I found you, flightless bird, jealous, weeping, or lost you, American mouth, bitterness in my sore, blunt tongue, and watching the warm poison rats curl through the white fence cracks, pissing on magazine photos, those fishing lures thrown in the cold and clean blood of Christ mountain stream. Have I found you, flightless bird, grounded, bleed, and I lost you, American mouth, big pill, stuck, going down.
That was gorgeous. Just beautiful. Sam Beam, Iron and Wine, here on WFPK Radio Louisville. The show's sold out tonight at Headliners, but the new CD is not, and that's called Ghost on Ghost. And we thank you so much for coming by today, Sam.
Thank you, Laura. It's a pleasure.
Same here.